Hey guys, Dave Hathaway doing another video in the series, How to Invest in Baltimore City. In this video series, we go over how we found the property, why we liked it, what were the results. We also share what we did during the rehab. And this video series gives investors a look into the landscape in Baltimore City with transparency, so you can go through the reps without any risk at all. And hopefully that gives you the education and the courage to invest in your first rental property, whether it's in Baltimore City or some other city or suburbs in the US. So in today's video, we're gonna go over 613 Dumbarton Avenue, a 1,260 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath row home in Penn Lucy. How did we find this? We found this on MLS back in 2017, and it was listed for $34,000. And I already had a couple of properties over in Penn Lucy. I was familiar with the neighborhood. There are pockets in Penn Lucy that are pretty rough, that they actively sell drugs. It has definitely gotten way, way better since back in 2017. But in particular with this row home, and this was an in-unit, there was no drugs being sold on this block. There was a new construction single family house right next door that gave me a good vibes. It didn't look like a super trashy street. That's why I liked it. Once I went to look at the property had good bones. The proximity to universities like Johns Hopkins, like Morgan State, like Loyola. I call it the university trifecta in Baltimore. That location in general is really close to just a bunch of universities. So I liked it for that reason. And again, Baltimore is block by block, and you want to steer clear of those blocks that are extremely transient. There's a lot of drugs going on just because there's a lot more factors like break-ins when you do a rehab, to stealing HVAC units, to, you just don't want to deal with that kind of stress and hassle. It provides so much more anxiety as an investor when you're investing in a really bad block. Because right when you have a tenant move out, you're worried about, oh man, is some of the drug dealers going to break into the property and then I'm going to have a squatter in my property. That's why we really liked it. Felt like it was a good street. As we looked at the analyzer, you can see, and this is what we anticipated. We anticipated a 1,225 monthly rent, which is low now, but back in 2017, it was not. That was market rent. And I anticipated about a $25,000 rehab. And you can see that yearly taxes are $2,400. And it comes down, it's a good cash flowing rental. If it's all cash, it comes out to $825 positive cash flow a month, or a 15.99% return. That's an amazing return. If there is a loan on the property, you leverage it and you put a 25% down payment, you end up getting $540 of cash flow a month and 41% return. So those are crazy good returns. So after I did the analysis, I got even more pumped about the property. One thing I want to share here is when you're purchasing a low priced property under $100,000, so in this case, all in is going to be $61,000 out the gate. You have a hard time with lenders. So if you don't have built up cash, it's going to be a little bit harder. You're going to be using hard money loans. But if you want to get a longer term loan, like a DSCR loan, a debt service coverage ratio loan, most of them only start at $100,000. So this kind of property becomes a little bit tough to do in scale because you can't pull your money back out. You're putting all your money in. And in this case, that was fine. That's how we ended up purchasing it. We just purchased it all cash, did the renovation with cash, and just collected that $825 a month. But that's just something to note, that once you start getting properties that appraise for $150, it's much easier to scale and purchase a bunch of them because lenders are more apt to work with you. So during the rehab, and I thought that this was going to be a light rehab, and it relatively was. We kept a decent amount of stuff, but what we did change out was we changed out some of the windows. We put on a new roof. We installed carpet over the laminate in the dining room that was damaged. We changed out the light fixtures. We installed central air. We installed Trex on that front porch area because the wood was pretty jacked up. And we just painted the entire property. The things that we kept included kitchen cabinets, the countertops, most of the laminate floors, because they were in pretty good shape. They didn't look terrible. They were fine. Most of the doors and the closets, and there wasn't a ton of drywall work. So overall, this was a lighter rehab. and it cost us about $25,000 or $15 a square foot. So what did the final numbers come out to? So after we were all done, the final numbers on this property were $81,000. We actually just sold this property early 2023 for $141,000. So we made about $50K on the property after commissions. And you can see that, hey, we had to put more money into the property. Pre-sale, we ended up fixing up the floors. We ended up doing a backsplash. We did some extra renovations to make the property even better than it was. So that's why our all-in cost was $81,000. But if you include monthly cash flow or monthly rent from this property, it came out to about $800 a month. That's $48,000 a year over 5 years. So it brought the total profit of this whole property, this whole project, to about $100,000 or $20,000 per year, which is pretty good. In no means is this a home run. I would classify this as a single. It just allows us to get more reps in, to generate cash flow, and to build wealth long term. But in no means was this the most amazing deal out there, even though that purchase price seems super, super cheap. It just allowed us to continue learning, continue growing each and every year. So why did I sell this property? Why did I decide to sell this property? And I feel like this is important because as an investor, you have to weigh the pros and the cons. One of the major reasons why I sold this property is because it still had lead paint. It wasn't a lead-free property, so it had a liability to the property, as well as we didn't rip out everything that was original in there when we originally did the renovation. The trim around the windows, the railing, and a lot of that stuff just was kind of nasty. In addition, the whole front of the property was painted red. So with this, it just is going to have maintenance as we continue going on. It's an older property. The basement is unfinished. It wasn't exactly a perfect basement by any means, and there really was no value to finish it because it was lower than I think it was 6 feet or slightly lower. I just felt like it had capped and it wasn't going to continue to go up. We got the appreciation we wanted out of it, and it'd be better used to put into a different property that was in bad condition and redo that forced value play. So that's why we sold it, is to basically redeploy the equity that we had tied up in that property and put it in another property that we thought could appreciate further and higher. It being a 3-bathroom, 1-bedroom also led me to not wanting to keep it for an extended amount of time. If it was a 3, 1.5, or even better, a 4, 2.5, those are properties that I think appreciate much higher. They're more functional, they're more wanted. So that was another reason why I just said, hey, let's go ahead and redeploy this capital somewhere else. So those are the reasons why I sold the property. So those are the numbers of how to invest in Baltimore City rentals. Before we do a video walkthrough of that entire property, so you can really get a feel of the property and the video walkthrough of right before we sold it, if you guys could again give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel as we continue to try to help people achieve financial freedom through rental properties, through real estate, and it continues to help the channel to grow. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you in another episode.